to this channel. We are at the end, believe it or not, of Down Syndrome Awareness Month. If you are watching this today, it is Halloween for you, so happy Halloween. Happy end of Down Syndrome Awareness Month. It's the best month. I love any opportunity to shout the worth of our kids. Speaking of kids, mine's over there. We're hanging out in George's room having a little bit of playtime. And George doesn't do that quietly. So you will very likely hear George screaming. I'll make sure he jumps on at some point to say hi, but right now he's very happy playing with his favorite toy. I think I've shown this, but this is his favorite toy. It was $8 on Amazon. Anyway, so I have one final thing that I'm going to talk about today in honor of the end of Down Syndrome Awareness Month. And what I'm going to talk about today is a big one. What is my favorite thing about Down syndrome? I feel like the fact that I'm doing this on the floor is very telling of momhood. Don't you think, George? So, when people ask me this question, what is my favorite thing about Down syndrome? There's a lot of ways I could take it. I could take it like, what is my favorite thing about people with Down syndrome? What is my favorite thing about parenting a child with Down syndrome? What is my favorite thing about the Down syndrome community or the Down syndrome world? But what I'm going to answer specifically is what is my actual favorite thing about the diagnosis of Down syndrome, and connect it to a very funny story about our very own Georgie Anton. So about a year ago, Kyle and I were starting to do some research, read some books about babies with Down syndrome, because we didn't have a ton of experience with babies with Down syndrome. Dad, that's right. And so I was reading a book called Babies with Down Syndrome, and it's like one of the most common books for parents who have a baby with Down syndrome. And I remember reading in it, like, and this seems so logical, but it was very cool to read, is like every cell of people with Down syndrome's body has that extra chromosome, every single one. And so the book was like, so keep in mind their organs have, like, every cell of their organs has Down syndrome. Their, like, fingernails have Down syndrome. Their hair has Down syndrome. Their eyelashes have Down syndrome. And I remember reading that and being like, that's magical. That, like, their eyelashes have Down syndrome. And I remember being like, that's the coolest fact. That's the coolest fact that I know. And it's not like, and it's not just, like, because you think Down syndrome and you think the physical characteristics, right? So the almond-shaped eyes, the flat bridge nose, the palm crease, you know, those kinds of things are what Down syndrome is, right? But the reality is that it's every single bit of these magical people. Their eyelashes have Down syndrome. And again, saying it out loud, I'm like, well, of course, but that makes sense. But reading that was like a really cool, is that funny? Was a really cool thing to, like, learn and to recognize, kind of. And so I remember saying, like, the coolest fact about people with Down syndrome is that their eyelashes have Down syndrome. And I said that for 6 months. I told everybody that. I was like, guys, people with Down syndrome have Down syndrome in their eyelashes. You can ask a lot of my friends. They would agree that I said that. So their eyelashes having Down syndrome is the coolest thing to me. Now, enter stage right, George Anton Johnson. When we first saw George, there was a lot of things that we were feeling and thinking. But one of the first things I noticed was the length of his eyelashes. And I laughed about it with his first mom because I was like, he's got beautiful eyelashes, and she assured me that she was pretty sure they'd stay. So, because they're beautiful. Let me see. I'm going to try to get him. Can you look right there? Georgie. Are those big eyelashes? Yeah? Huh. What do you think? His eyelashes are so long. He's got really nice long eyelashes. And he did not grow out of them. I was scared that when he got bigger, because when he was little, like when we first got him, where are you going? When we first got him, everything looked big on him because he was so tiny. So, like, his fingernails looked like they were too big for him. Yeah. Tell me more. So I one of the first things I thought about was like, those long eyelashes have Down syndrome. Every bit of those eyelashes has 3 copies of the 21st chromosome in them. How magical is that? And I remember just like thinking that being obsessed with babies with Down syndrome having 3 copies of the having 3 copies of the 21st chromosome in their eyelashes, and then becoming the mom of a baby who has such beautiful long eyelashes, with such like the universe being like, you got the right guy, you have the right baby. So there you have it. My favorite thing about Down syndrome is that they have 3 copies of the 21st chromosome in their eyelashes. That means their eyelashes have Down syndrome. That was my favorite thing before we got George, and then we got George and his eyelashes are 6 miles long, and it just feels, his eyelashes and the eyelash key fact that I learned has always been my favorite thing. So I think that's a perfect way to end Down Syndrome Awareness Month, is to talk about my most favorite thing and to talk about a cute story about George and getting to show George off a little bit. So yeah, so thank you so much for watching our Down Syndrome Awareness Month series here in October. Again, we love any kind of awareness for Down syndrome, and talking about talking about it and talking about this magical little boy is the best, and it's been really fun. I'm so glad I've gotten to document his first October and done some fun things about our journey with his extra chromosome. So, hope you're having a great week. I hope you had a magical month. And now we're on to Adoption Awareness Month, so that'll be fun as well. So, we will see you later, and make sure you like and subscribe, I think are the things I'm supposed to say. So, that's all we got. So, see you later. Say bye-bye. Can you say bye-bye? No.